Far, far away, beyond the mountains of Ireland, lies a little wood, with a river that laughs and chatters beside it as it hurries towards the sea. In the centre of that little wood stands a great oak tree, with its branches stretching up, up into the sky, while down, down, down at the bottom is a little door, with a shiny brass knocker and a notice which says, "Danny Dormouse, please knock loudly." Danny Dormouse was standing in his cosy kitchen, looking at a rather untidy mess of brown paper and string.
"Oh dear, I do wish I was better at packing parcels," said Danny. "It's a good job I don't have to post it. I can take the slippers round to the rabbits myself."
But when he got to the rabbit's front door, although he rang the bell several times, there was no reply.
"Oh, bother," said Danny. "They must all be out."
Then out of the corner of his eye he thought he saw one of the rabbits crossing the path at the far end of the wood.
"Hi, Rabbit,"
he squeaked.
"It's me, Danny Dormouse. Hi, wait a minute."
But the rabbit didn't seem to hear, for it hurried on, and Danny trotted after until he came to the far side of the wood, where he'd never been before. The rabbit had disappeared, and with a sigh, Danny sat down to get his breath back. Presently, he heard a funny noise. It seemed to be coming from the far side of the fence at the end of the field. It was a puffing sort of noise, and it got louder and louder and faster and faster. Danny, being the curious little dormouse that he was, scurried across the field to have a peep. He poked his head through the fence, and then his eyes grew as round as saucers, and with a frightened squeak he dropped the parcel and ran helter-skelter all the way back to the wood. In fact, he was so busy running that he never noticed Sean the Leprechaun at all until he ran right into him and knocked him flat on his back.
"Will you look what you're at?"
shouted Sean very crossly.
"You clumsy wee dormouse. Oh, now look at the mud all over me jacket."
Oh, never mind the mud,"
Danny gasped.
I've just seen a dreadful sort of monster."
And poor Danny trembled all over as he remembered the narrow escape he'd had. Sean forgot about the mud when he saw how very frightened Danny really was.
Now then,"
he said kindly.
"You needn't take on so. Take a deep breath and tell me all about it."
So Danny took a deep breath and told Sean all about the horrible puffing monster that had come rushing along, blowing out dirty black smoke from a chimney in its head. When he'd finished, to his surprise, Sean simply chuckled.
"Oh dear, Danny, but you're a funny wee dormouse. I think you'd better come and talk to Osbert the owl and let him tell you a thing or two about your puffin' monster."
The two friends found Osbert.
"Hello, Osbert,"
said Sean.
"Now, I wonder would you mind telling me friend Danny here what it is that's black, makes a puffing noise, and there's a lot of smoke coming out of a chimney in its head?"
"Ooh, a train, of course," replied Osbert. "What a silly sort of question. Everybody knows that."
Danny blushed.
"I didn't,"
he said in a small voice. Osbert looked very wise.
"Well, if you and Sean like to come with me, I'll take you to see one properly."
So Osbert, with his two passengers safely aboard, flew over the wood and down to the tiny station in the far valley.
"We'll just wait here," said Osbert. "There's sure to be a train along in a minute or two."
Sure enough, so there was, and Danny was so excited he could hardly keep still. The train stopped at the platform, and to his surprise, Sean grabbed hold of his paw.
"Come on, Danny, it's now or never,"
shouted the Leprechaun. and before Danny knew what was happening, he found himself dragged aboard one of the goods wagons just as the train began to move.
Hey, come back,
shouted Osbert.
Sean, you bad rascal, come back.
Ooh! But it was too late. The train was already gathering speed. Danny wasn't at all sure that he wanted to ride on a train.
Oh, Sean, what have we done? We've left Osbert behind. I don't think I like it in here.
Sean, who was thoroughly enjoying himself, grinned at his friend.
Stuff and nonsense.
He snapped.
Why, it's not every day you get a ride on a train.
Before Danny could reply, a strange voice spoke. It seemed to come from the far corner of the wagon.
"You're trespassing,"
It said.
"You've no ticket, neither of you."
It was the railway cat, sitting on a sack in the corner, his green eyes shining. Danny gave a little jump.
Oh, my goodness,
He said very nervously.
I didn't see you there at all.
The railway cat gave a yawn.
"Yeah, I know you didn't.
He said.
And who are you anyway? Tramps, I suppose?"
Sean the Leprechaun stopped looking pleased with himself and glared at the cat.
Indeed we're not tramps. I'm Sean the Leprechaun, and this is me friend, Danny Dormouse. Tramps indeed.
The railway cat didn't seem the least bit impressed.
"I don't care who you are.
He said at last.
You shouldn't be on the train without a ticket."
You can keep your silly old train.
Snapped Sean, who had suddenly decided he wanted his dinner.
It was only a notion we had for a little ride, but I think we'll get off now and go home.
The railway cat's eyes gleamed, and then it began to laugh.
Get off indeed.
"But you can't get off, you silly creature, for the train only stops when the engine driver tells it to, and he won't stop until the next station, and that's a long way indeed."
And the cat laughed again and looked very pleased with itself. But it had reckoned without Sean the Leprechaun.
So the train won't stop, won't it?
He snapped.
Well, we'll soon see about that, Danny? Or my name's not Sean.
And before Danny could stop him, the Leprechaun jammed his cap down over his ears and began to recite a spell.
"By me Leprechaun's cap, whose spell is so strong, bring this train to a stop before very long."
There was a puff of smoke, and slowly the train came to a stop. The railway cat nearly swallowed his whiskers with surprise. Sean grinned at him.
You see, you silly creature, it's not only the driver can stop the train. Goodbye, railway cat.
And with a scramble and a jump, Danny and Sean were down on the railway line. They hurried up the bank and sat down at the top to get their breath back and watch all the fuss and bother going on down below. Heads poked out of windows, the guard ran up the line waving his flag, and the poor engine driver just stood and scratched his head. Then, with a swoosh of wings, Osbert landed beside them.
"You've been up to your tricks again,"
said Osbert very sternly to Sean.
"Now, Sean, start that train at once."
Sean looked a bit ashamed of himself.
Now, don't be getting cross, Osbert,
he said.
I was meaning to start it off right this minute.
And jamming his cap down over his ears, he began to recite another spell.
"By me Leprechaun's cap, when I give a blow, may that train that I stopped once more start to go."
Sean puffed out his cheeks and blew on the train. Almost at once, the train began to move, and the poor guard, his coat-tails flying, had to run to catch up.
"Now, I'll take you both home before you get into any more mischief,"
said Osbert.
"Oh, and here's a parcel I found lying under the hedge over there."
And he held out Danny's lost parcel of slippers.
"Oh, it's my parcel that I lost this morning,"
said Danny, very pleased that everything had turned out so well.
My goodness, it has been an exciting day. Oh, let's hurry home and tell Desmond the donkey.
All aboard!
shouted Sean,
All aboard for home!
and spreading his wings, Osbert the owl flew back to the little wood.